Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to or watching the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 4, Episode 2, and the title of the episode is It's All Love. And I'm joined today by Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing today, Dana?
Hello, everyone. I am excited to talk about this episode, and I'm excited in general for this to be back. So, yay, another good one.
Indeed, indeed. And I'm also joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Yep. And yeah, this was another very interesting episode. Lots to unpack there. A lot happened. We got another character death. So, they're not stopping with the bodies in this show. So that's very interesting. But yep, it is good to be back covering Raising Kanan. And we want to give a big shout outs to all the people, in the comments, or the people who support the show and everything. Make sure you do like the video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to get notified. And also shout outs to Adam, because I know you guys been seeing it, but there is another show being recapped on the channel right now, Reacher. So if you guys like that, you can go check that out too. And then also check out the entertainment channel, because Dana has a lot of stuff up there right now. I saw the Daredevil stuff. I can't wait to watch it. So go ahead, Dana. You gonna say something?
We will be recapping Daredevil on the entertainment channel, as well as all of the interviews for the Daredevil cast, both the premiere and at the junket. So it's just a slew of information.
Exactly. Yep. And you got the Invincible recaps as well. So definitely check all that good stuff out on the entertainment channel. But yeah, let's not delay too much. Let's get right into the takeaways of this episode, because that's what the people want to hear. And this week it is Dana's turn to go first with the takeaways. So I know you've got your notes already, so when you're ready, take it away, Dana.
All right, so as we already know, the episode is called It's All Love. And it kind of reminded me of the phrase, it's all fair in love and war. Because this is what we're kind of dealing with. We have how we've seen for example, the relationship between Unique and Raquel, how it's shaky. It's been rocky throughout the entire seasons. And now this has turned into something that is kind of pure hate. And so that's what I kind of love when it says it's all love. I feel that title for me means it very sarcastically. Like, it's all love, fam. Don't worry, but I'm gonna still get you. That kind of like sarcastic way. So I wanted to start off with kind of the beginning. And what I love is how it sets the tone for the entire show is with the monologue. And he's talking about the differences between, soldiers and people who are really ready for battle. Um, so he says, in the hood, we all talk about soldiers, people who ain't scared, people always down to die for the cause, fall for their flag. But the truth is, they ain't no real soldier. Real soldiers understand the command, got discipline, strategy. Real soldiers are trained to kill. So no matter how hard you think your crew is, you ain't no real soldier. You're just playing a fake war, and it only ends when everyone loses. And this, I really feel, is an exceptional kind of character development for obviously the Unique character. Which one of my biggest, complaints is that he was too soft. From the first time that we saw him, he was just soft. He let things slide. And, the thing about the Ronnie dynamic was Ronnie wasn't wrong. He was probably just too strong with the way how he tackled his business. He always told him, don't trust certain people. Keep your eye out for certain things. And now that we've seen that Unique has this brain damage that he's not going to the hospital for, so it's probably going to be a little permanent brain damage dealing in there, a little CTE maybe, that it's completely shifted who he is as a person. But when I spoke to Joey Badass, who plays Unique, we'll have the video up soon, he essentially stated that, this is a character who's always been this way. He just didn't let it show. So we're seeing a different side of the same person. This is not like, oh, and now he's mean. He's always been mean. He's just never showed his meanness. He doesn't have any barriers now because of the injury. And so we've seen through the first episode of season 4 how he's misinterpreting things. And remember how I talked about perspective, and that through his perspective, he thinks that Raquel and everyone else is trying to screw him over? Well, this one, and now with that, thinking, he believes that, that's continuing, and he's going to start going after any and everyone who is close to Raquel or even associated with the business, I feel. And we've seen them kind of ducking and diving in the corners and looking and peeking and seeing how Raquel has been acting towards the lawyer. Now, we know that Raquel is not thinking about Unique. Unique is dead to her, both literally and figuratively, and even generationally. Rest in peace, baby fetus. So that I feel, we know that as a fact, but he is not able to see that. And so it is kind of that feud that is going to be lit. And I think that this is where the war is going to come from. It's the unseen war. There's going to be multiple wars within this show, which is why I really feel that why they emphasized the soldier aspect and people who are made soldiers but are born soldiers. And that is going to be the deciding factor for who lives and dies and probably how they die. Now, we also have to talk about Kanan, the relationship between Kanan and his mother, Raquel. Raquel, as we've seen, is like, she's been very hands-on from the first episode in the first season. And now she's seeing that not only is she kind of losing the grip on her son, but he's just not listening. And because of that, she's learning to step aside. I'm gonna love you from afar, and that's when we get the line of, I can trust the fact that my son doesn't trust me. I understand that, but you can't be in a business with me. So you see how she's viewing Kanan as both something completely. She's able to compartmentalize Kanan the son and Kanan the business partner. So when Kanan the business partner acted reckless and shot Ronnie, which he didn't say, hey, go kill Ronnie for me. He decided in his own little, I'm going to be a man and take over my thing and shoot him in the head. That causes consequences that is going to have a ripple effect. So he thought, like, here's your money to snaps and pops. Leave me be. And he's like, no, we want the business. We want certain things because the consequences that you've had, you are affecting our business now. And I think this is a great moment when Raquel was like, oh, this is you. I want nothing to do with this. Because she can't be there forever for her son. And this goes whether or not you're in the drug business or not. You can't forever be there for your child in terms of, I got your back no matter what. I'm going to pick up the pieces. Because that way, Kanan won't be a man. And Kanan won't know how to run things on his own if he's always relying on somebody to pick up the pieces. So I like that we're getting the slow kind of what do you call it? The form of Kanan from the original series. So we're starting to see, his mom is not going to be able to be there. He has to deal with snaps and pops. He's going to start to make some decisions that either, are going to be really tough for him, but they're going to have that ripple effect. So we're going to start seeing him thinking more. And that is, you can argue, what Kanan was in the original. He was someone who was methodical and a psychopath. We've seen that. He doesn't have a care in the world for anyone. We've seen that what happened with his own family members. He kills Juke. Juke doesn't kill herself. Tariq doesn't kill her. It's not even Ghost. He kills her. So we're starting to see the moments of when he is starting to have to think for himself and how that is going to lead into the overall picture. And also dealing with this whole war situation that he is also going to be involved with. Because remember, Snaps and Pops, they met their little secrets and then their little corners. We're gonna go to war. Remember, that was the entire ending for the finale of season 3. And they're not gonna drop that so easily. Right now, they're just observing. They're not gonna, do anything, I don't think, at this moment that's gonna be rash. So I like that, and I like the fact that he's gonna have to start learning to deal with his consequences more. So another thing that really stuck out, just like as a side note, Famous is gone, honey. I don't know if he's dead or he is gone, but he is up and disappeared. Isn't that so refreshing? I just want to know, like, in general in life, what is it like to just say goodbye to everything? Doesn't mean you have to die or anybody's killing you. Just like, peace out. No contact with friends, family, record label. Your song is playing and you're the number one right now song in, I don't know, Queens, New York, and just nothing. So, yay to him. I hope he's finding some peace. He probably dead somewhere. We're going to just find his head floating on the beach. But I just love the fact that, just go away. Him and his mama did probably too. Oh, don't forget the mama, because the mama's stupid as all can be. Kill the mama. But one of the other things that I did want to mention was that I love whatchamaface. I don't know who's playing B-Rilla, but I love the fact that we are getting Lulu and his purpose. Lulu's purpose has always been music. And even though we have this businessman that we don't know of, I'm going to just call him probably Lou Perman at this moment. Or who was the one that they dedicated No Vaseline to? I forgot his name. Gary would know because he's all in the hippity hops. Gary?
That was Easy E and Ice Cube's beef. Yeah.
No. With who? Who was the guy that they beefed with?
It was Easy E. It was track was to Easy E.
No, the manager. Then he was like, I wish
Jerry
it
Heller?
soon. It's like, there we go. So this, Jeremy Hiller, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call this white businessman Jeremy Hiller Jr. because this is exactly what I just don't trust him. He seems sleazy. He even says, like, I'm sleazy. He just gives it off like, look, I've been to rehab for everything. And I love the fact that it's just so nonchalant. Like, nobody cares. And Lulu was just so nervous because he was like, no one's going to hire me because I'm a drug addict. And the guy was like, dude, I do crack. We're good. So it's amazing. But we're able to see him, his home base and his love and his passion is music. And to see him be able to do that was so amazing. One of the things that stood out to me the most was when he returned home. Because that is literally the scene of the crime. That is the scene of where you was high, you was depressed, you wanted to kill yourself, and you see the house, which I understand. There was a part of me that was really upset that no one in the family went and cleaned up the apartment. Because it's just like, don't you want to have them come home to something that's fresh and not really a reminder of your addictions? But nobody cleaned that apartment. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, but they made sure he went to rehab. They paid the bills. So what more do you want from him? Take some responsibility and clean your room. And he did that. And he was like sad at first. And he was sitting there like, But then he's like, no, I'm going to do this. And so you saw the little flicker of like, I want to live. So it made me really happy to see him clean his apartment out, get rid of the bottles. He wasn't tempted by the bottles. He wasn't tempted by anything else. It was just so lovely. And so him working with B-Rilla, which I know is like a real rapper for something. I don't know. But him working with B-Rilla and being able to get him out, I think that gave not only Lulu a sense of purpose, but like a little sense of power. Like, oh, look what I can do. Ew. And the guy was on stage rapping and said, I was in prison and now I'm on the stage. Hey, whatever. So I really liked that. And I wonder if we're going to have that relationship where everything kind of works out. And I just want everything to work out and be fine. I don't want the producer to start screwing him over like all producers do. So I just hope that this is something that is sustainable, that makes him happy and gives him more purpose and we get more artists because it's just really working out. And then just as a side note, Jukebox, baby, they're going to come for you. Go back to the camp because they're going to put an AWOL status on you and they're going to drag you back and it's not going to be good. But I hope she's okay. And that they, whatever it is that if she gets discharged, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be like with the Army. I've never dealt with the Army, but blessings to you because the government coming after you. So have fun. Oh, maybe this is how maybe she makes a deal and is like, oh, I'm going to be a police officer instead, so y'all don't throw me in prison. But I don't know if it's prison because it was technically training. She wasn't like, I don't know how it works in the in army things. Like, is it just basic training and then you graduate into the thing? So can you still quit during basic training and not be considered AWOL and it be illegal and they come and court martial you? I don't know, but it's interesting. But yay, but this is where we find out, the soldier and the methodical thinking that Jukebox, the original, ends up becoming because she behaves very much like a soldier. She has certain rules. She just crazy. Well, we got to find out what makes her crazy. And I don't think it's a little girl that makes her crazy. I think it's something else. It has to be something else because that's this little girl here. She's just finding herself. It's cute. It was so cute. I love them together. They're cute. But it's okay. Let them separate and find each other and come back later. Maybe she dies and then it's like, oh, I'm going to be evil. I don't know. But I'm rambling. That's everything that I have to say so.
Oh yeah, great takeaways. And yeah, that is something I was wondering, like if this is the start of her kind of transition to the police force instead. But yeah, I do have some things to ask about that later, so we'll get to that. But great takeaways there, great observations by Miss Dana Abercrombie as always. And now we're going to hear from Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. So when you're ready, Richard.
Yes. So first and foremost, outstanding takeaways by Dana, and I really like how she broke down the definition of war and what they were going for. That's actually the reason why my name for today's podcast is "It's All War." This episode was named "It's All Love," but in my opinion, yes, it's all war because there are a lot of things happening on the show with various characters in certain situations they're going to have to deal with. So I do have two takeaways I'm going to get into, and I'm going to make a few quick comments on some other things. So the first takeaway I want to focus on is obviously let's talk about Jukebox because as Dana already mentioned, this episode starts out, she's in the Army basic training, and then she does eventually decide to leave after she finds out that her friend got sent home because they saw that he had gay magazines, in his, where he was staying at. So we already knew that in the previous episode when she was talking to Nicole's dad, he was giving her a warning about the things are certain different. There's certain different things that happen when you are in the Army. So, yeah, I mean, we knew that at some point she was going to leave. But again, we have context because when she was there as a soldier, yes, she was fully in it as a soldier, very committed. There were people that were looking towards her when they had the scene when they were outside taking orders and stuff like that. So, yeah, she was very much committed to that. So you can see where her soldier mindset comes from. And I definitely want to see where they're going with that as the show continues. And then, of course, she does return back home. Marvin is happy to see her. Yeah, everybody's happy to see her. Maybe except Crystal. But yeah, so I look forward to seeing where Jukebox goes from here. Okay, so that's one comment that I did want to make. Now, my other takeaways, first and foremost, let's talk about Kanan in this episode. Kanan is obviously continuing to run his business. They did introduce another character that he was talking to in the start of this show that helps with the numbers, the guy. And clearly that guy he has a social interaction issue, I guess, because when Crystal came in there, he got very nervous. He was like, oh, I gotta go. But the thing I want to highlight here is the conversation in the relationship between Crystal and Kanan, because we learned in this episode that Kanan actually got Crystal pregnant and then paid for her to get an abortion. And of course, she did tell Kanan that, yes, I actually want to be a mom. I want to start a family. So, but she also knows that Kanan has been messing around with other girls. So that little situation, we already know Crystal is not a character we've heard about on the original Power show. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that relationship. I would imagine either Kanan is going to cheat on her and get caught in the act, or there may be something else that happens. Because what I do know is that we made reference to the photo that came out from last season when they were filming this season, where you saw Crystal leaving the apartment that Kanan is in, and that's where we saw Unique. So my assumption is that they are going to get into another fight, and that's when she storms out and leaves. That's where that shot was taken, and then you saw that basically Unique is there around the same time. So that's what I'm assuming is going to happen. Obviously, we don't know because we didn't see anything yet. But I did want to say very interesting relationship between those two characters. So I do want to see where they're going with that. On the flip side of that, Kanan has his own issues because he needs to re-up. He's still working with his mom to a degree, and he still has the debt that is owed because he took out Ronnie. And Pops the Smack reminded him in this episode, yes, you may have paid back some of the investment that we made, but this is not all of the investment money that we put into you. So you are going to continue to owe us. And you saw that Kanan, he really wanted to get at it with them, and then Raquel had to stop him. So to go to Dana's point earlier about Raquel is going to try to let Kanan do stuff from a distance. But this situation here is going to get very tricky, right? Because Kanan obviously wants to be in full control. We know this season he does evolve a lot further as a character, as a businessman. So I expect at some point he might be the one to take out Pops and Smack. I mean, I think that's possibly going to happen at some point. We have to see how they play it. But very interesting setup. And then the other thing is, again, like I mentioned in the last episode, is Kanan, he is the one that's been doing everything for his grandmother. He took Joyce to her appointment, and then they found out that the cancer is progressing. So, again, a lot of pressure put on Kanan. And he's basically saying that, I don't know if you should keep this a secret from the rest of the family. And, of course, she's struggling with that, saying she doesn't know whether what's harder, dying or dealing with her kids and telling them about this. So I think we already know, as well as the listeners, that Joyce is probably not going to make it out this season, and that's going to have a very significant impact on all the characters. So I do want to see which direction they go in with that. But very interesting setup in terms of what they're doing with Kanan now, and the fact that he basically he has a debt. He has a debt to pay, like some other characters in the show. He has a debt to pay. So I do want to see which path they're going to take with that to get him to the point where he is completely evolved and he's the one calling the shot. So stay tuned for that. And my final takeaway, and this is really a combination of two characters I want to mention. Lou and Marvin in this episode going down two very different paths. Now, obviously, we saw at the beginning of the episode, Marvin picked up Lou at rehab. And of course, this is when they're continuing talking back and forth. And we already knew from the previous episode that Famous is missing. So clearly they're continuing to talk about this stuff. And I do believe Famous is going to show up again at some point on this show. Obviously, because you still have his sister is now back in the picture as well to some extent. So I do want to see where they're going with that. But to touch on Lou in this episode, yes, he is trying to figure out what his purpose is. And Dana did mention the rapper. Yeah, I believe his name is B Rilla. He's trying to basically help B Rilla get to the next level in his music career. Now, again, this is a war because in the very beginning, when he was approached by the producer, the guy is saying, yeah, Lou, we want you to, we see you have an eye for talent. We want to work with you. And the thing about it is that we know already, and I'm sure all of us know, as well as Gary, about how corrupt the music business is. We've heard multiple stories about the people running the business behind the scenes and stuff that they do. So I thought it was a very interesting line towards the end of the episode when Lou was in the club, and then the producer comes up to him and he asks, so Lou, are you ready to make money? Lou says, I'm ready to make music. And what we know is that might be a bit of a conflict, because while he wants to focus on the creative aspect of it, B Rilla has already told Lou when he went to visit him at jail, they haven't been paying me what I'm owed, all this other stuff. So that is going to be an issue he's going to have to deal with. We already know the producer really is corrupt, and of course, when B Rilla starts to take off, he's the one that's going to want the biggest cut from all of that. So I do want to see how they deal with that, because it's going to be a bit of a stressful situation, I think, for Lou. And I want to see how he deals with that, especially now that he is sober and trying to, change up his life. And let's do a quick shift over to Marvin, because in this episode, obviously Marvin still doing work for Stefano, helping out Stefano. And in this particular situation, Stefano there's a booker that he wants Marvin to basically, have a word with. And when Marvin does go see that booker, he ends up killing the booker. Now, it is said multiple times that booker is a huge earner for Stefano. And obviously we saw that Stefano had a brief conversation with Marvin in this episode over the phone. And Marvin is basically telling him, I had to take him out. It would have been bad news for the both of us. Well, now this is an issue because Marvin now has a debt to pay. They're going to want the money that they lose from not having this guy around. They're going to want to have that money back. So I feel like Marvin is now going to be doing a lot more work for Stefano. And at the same time, we got another tidbit of information in this episode where, Terry Silver's father, right? Gary's favorite character. He tells Raquel, hey, the feds want you to snitch on Stefano. And he also tells her, by the way, we saw Marvin was with Stefano. And she plays it off and said, oh, yeah, I knew about that already because they were talking about fish tanks, which did happen last season. But she doesn't know the extent of that relationship. So this is a very complex thing here, because if she wanted to snitch on Stefano, I mean, her brother is working with him now. He could be there at the same time where the feds do try to come there. So I do want to see how they handle that. It's going to be a very complex situation, but very exciting, because at the same time, we already know that she also spoke with Stefano in this episode, and she wants to get Quan out the way because Quan is raising the prices of the product. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now that makes it very interesting. So I got to say, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. But the last thing I do want to make a comment about, right? I do want to say, a lot of people always ask me, and they ask me, why do you like Raising Kanan? It's not just because of the time period. It's not just because of the characters. It's also because of the writing and how they tie stuff together. Two things in particular in this episode, two lines, right? The line that Raquel said to Kanan when they left Pops and Smacks. She said that line, you might not like my decisions, but you love my results. That's a cold line. Excellent writing. I got to say that. And then the last thing I will mention, and this goes back to what Dana said when she was talking about the soldier reference, how I love how they made that comparison, and how 50 Cent's last line of the monologue is, soldiers are made, killers are born. Again, phenomenal writing. And you saw it because in the start of the episode with Jukebox, it ended with Unique killing, Terry Silver's father. So once again, fantastic show, fantastic writing. I can't wait to see what happens next week, and looking forward to seeing what everybody has to say about it in the comment section.
Excellent takeaways there. I like how we're just calling him Terry Silver's father now. But yeah, I don't even know the character's real name, but I'm going to go with that. Terry Silver's father. That's what we're going with. So that's his name now. But yeah, great takeaways. And I noticed you both mentioned record producer. And yeah, like in the 90s, record producers were very shady. So I absolutely believe that he's going to be giving Lou and B Rilla some shady deals, like some slave deals and stuff. So yeah, I can't wait to see how that unfolds, because I'm sure Lou is not going to be very happy with that, and he might need some family help to smooth things over later on. But we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, good observations from both of you. So yeah, I'll get right into my takeaways now. So speaking of Terry Silver's father, Unique choosing to kill him is a very strategic move, because you mentioned that the writing is good in this show. It really is phenomenal, because like they really do a good job of like layering things and kind of like showing you things, right? So throughout this whole episode, we see how much Terry Silver's father is helping Raquel. At the beginning, she kind of, tells Raquel and Marvin that, the case is smoothed over and Marvin's kind of off the hook for now. So he gives them that news, and he kind of alludes to the fact that he has connections and insider knowledge and stuff like that. So and then you get a lot of those conversations throughout the episode of Terry Silver's father, giving them advice and alluding to these connections that he has. So you can see that Raquel is very dependent on him for her sustainability, in the game and everything, because he's got access to these connections that are very useful to her. And he even puts like a deal on the table of like, if you wanted to cooperate and send Stefano away or something like that, that's an option that you have basically, um, which is interesting. But yeah, that's a very big Meech move if she if she ever decides to go down that path. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so taking out Terry Silver's father, is a very strategic move now, because now Raquel is basically in the dark. Like she has no, legal connection. Well, she has no legal connection, to the square world, basically. Like, so she's completely in the dark, and she has to navigate the street life now, because she could get another lawyer, but that new lawyer that she gets probably won't have the same connections that Terry Silver's father had. So that's a very that's a big void that's left there with that particular lawyer being killed. And it's straight savage as well, because he's not in, he might be a bit crooked, but he's not in the street life. He has a square job, so to take him out, that's very cold-blooded of Unique. And of course, we know also that as they alluded to in the first episode, Unique is essentially a ghost at this moment, because they don't know that he's alive. So whenever Raquel does find out that Terry Silver's father is dead, um, it's going to be interesting, because she's going to be like, she won't know where the hit came from. Basically, it's like, why did this happen? It's like, it's going to be very strange for her, and then she's going to kind of have to recuperate and stuff like that, and bounce back from it. So I can't wait to see how that unfolds. Um, because she's definitely not expecting Unique to be coming at her like that. So yeah, like, even though Unique is suffering from CTE, you can see that he is making some strategic decisions. He's making some interesting decision making, while he has the CTE. And this is definitely a more like aggressive Unique than we've seen before. I know Dana mentioned it, where Ronnie had a problem with the old Unique, because he wasn't aggressive enough. He was kind of laid back, and he was like the fly dude who would get, like, he would get his fit right and everything. But now we're seeing a different Unique. Like, now he's really in his bag right now. Like, he's on demon time. So yeah, I can't wait to see how he maneuvers throughout this season, and how much of a ghost role is he going to play, of where nobody knows who's doing all of this dirt, because this is going to be like a mystery for them. Like, we're seeing Unique, but for them this is a mystery. Like, they don't know who's coming at them, and we see that he almost had the drop on Lou as well before. So he can just pop up anywhere, anytime, and no one's expecting him, and they don't even know what to look for. So this is very interesting, having Unique play the role of the main villain, this season. Um, but yeah, second takeaway. So, speaking of the whole Marvin thing, and Marvin having his hands clean and stuff like that, I think Raquel and Marvin are really going to end up at odds very soon, because he's going straight from basically being a free man, because now the case is dropped and everything like that, to now he's actually working with Stefano, and he's killing on behalf of Stefano. Now, obviously, Stefano didn't tell him to kill the guy, He made that decision on his own because he felt a certain way based on what the guy said, you know. But like what Richard said, the fact that he did kill the guy, that comes with consequences because that's going to leave a hole in Stefano's pockets. So I do believe that Stefano is going to basically have Marvin fill that role. Like, you know, okay, you chose to kill the guy. Now you take over his business. Now you've got to make me this money, you know? So I think we could see that. And another thing I think this could tie into just because of the way it unfolded, like, because after he killed the guy, he was on the phone to Stefano and he was trying to explain himself a little bit of, you know, why it was necessary. And he basically told him, like, you know, anyone from the block can fill that role for you or whatever. And then at that exact moment, Jukebox walked through the door. And this ties into a question I'm going to have for you in a little bit, but I do believe at first Marvin is going to fill that void for Stefano, but we see that Jukebox is currently trying to find herself. You know, she didn't fit in the army because she saw the person getting kicked out, you know, for their sexuality and all that. We see that she goes to I keep forgetting her name, the other girl. It's not Crystal, it's the other one. What's her name? The Jukebox's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting her name, but yeah, she went to visit her in college, and obviously, like, her girlfriend was basically telling her, you know, it's good to see you and everything, but I'm also trying to find myself in college. You know, I'm trying to find out who I am in this experience. So it's like, you know, Jukebox can't just stay there. You know, she has to kind of do her own thing. So she chooses to go back to her dad's house. Now, we know that she eventually becomes a cop, and that's the path that they're painting here for her. But we like the Jukebox we see in original Power. She is so aggressive. She's so streetwise and everything. So I do believe that Jukebox is going to have a stint in the streets. Like, she's going to be, you know, doing some stuff in the streets, I believe. And remember the teaser trailer we saw as well, where you know, it seemed like Marvin was kind of coaching her to do something. So I think that not only is Marvin going to be doing some stuff for Stefano, but Jukebox might get involved too, on his behalf. So that's where I think this might be going. But yeah, well, I definitely foresee a huge falling out between Marvin and Raquel in particular, because, you know, you have the part where she's talking to Terry Silver's father, and you know, he basically let slip like, oh, some of my contacts saw both you and Marvin meeting with Stefano at different times. And first of all, I'm wondering, who are these spies? Like, who are these people just watching Stefano? Like, what's going on? So so like this whole snitching plot seems to be very far ahead. But yeah, like, he basically told her that, yeah, Marvin was seeing Stefano, and Raquel, she doesn't even want to believe that Marvin is doing any dirt right now because he already got relieved from the case or whatever. So she thinks that they're just talking about random stuff like fish or whatever. Like, so so where when she finds out they're doing some dirt, yeah, she's not going to be happy. She's going to be upset. So that's a fight waiting to happen right there. Um, and you know, without Terry Silver's father, she's going to be very vulnerable if she gets found out, and if people are already watching Stefano and they see, you know, her and Marvin there, then she's in a very exposed spot right now because she doesn't have Terry Silver's father to protect her. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, so next takeaway. So pregnancy seems to be a common theme in this season so far. We've seen it in the first two episodes. You know, the first episode, Raquel, she was pregnant, she had an abortion. And in this episode, you know, at the very start, we see Kanan and Crystal kind of have a conversation on the topic, because he's not using a rubber, and it seems like she's already had an abortion, from him, because they're not, Kanan's not ready to really have a child yet. Crystal says that she is ready, and it kind of hurt her to abort the baby and stuff. And then in the conversation, she alludes to the fact that Kanan is out there cheating and sleeping with other girls and stuff like that. Now, let's take it back to original Power. We know that Sean exists. And I remember one thing, watching the original Power, like Sean, he looked almost as old as 50 did. Like he looked almost as old as Kanan. Like, so that leads me to believe that that Kanan has him at a very young age. So he must be having Sean sometime soon. Um, and Sean's mother was called Jarita, I believe, in the original season. So if Kanan's already out there messing with other girls, it's plausible that he might have already met Jarita. He might be messing with Jarita already, and maybe he ends up having a child with somebody other than Crystal in this season, because I would imagine that he has Sean very young, so it's probably about that time, because I think Kanan's about 16 right now in the story or something. So yeah, he's probably gonna, because I think some time passed. Like, I think there was a time skip, so he's probably about 16 or something. So I think it's coming up close to the time where he's probably gonna have Sean. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen this season, if he gets somebody pregnant and we meet Jarita. Maybe there's a breakup with Crystal as well. So yeah, I think that might be where they're going with it. But it's just interesting how they're kind of tying in that pregnancy theme, because we went from the Raquel one right into uh, Crystal and Kanan now. So and then, like, really, this whole season so far, it's got a very like interesting family element to it, because you also have the grandmother Joyce, which is interesting because my grandmother was called Joyce as well. But yeah, um, you
My
have,
mom is Joyce.
wow, that's a common name, I guess.
Wow. Yes.
Common name. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very like family orientated season so far, because you have the whole thing going on with Joyce. She has cancer. Only Kanan knows. Eventually, they're all going to find out, but you get a sense from this episode that Joyce, she's kind of fearing telling her children about the cancer more than actually dying. Like, she fears that part of it more, kind of thing. Um, which is very touching, very interesting. Um, and speaking of family as well, I think it was very cool and relatable for me personally to see when Marvin picked up Lou from the rehab, and they kind of had like a touching brotherly moment, conversation and stuff, where Lou was like very thankful to Marvin and stuff for looking out for him, for paying for the rehab and all that stuff. So that was cool to see, like, them, just seeing them have that brotherly kind of bond in a positive way, because we don't always see it. Like, they've fought before and they've been at odds a lot and stuff. So that was kind of cool just to see that brotherly love between them, even if it doesn't last. But it's just kind of cool to have moments like that. So yeah. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much my takeaway for this week. So we can get right into some discussion points now. And Dana already has something she wants to say, so go ahead, Dana.
I have to say this because I'm gonna forget it and it's gonna be crazy in my head. I feel that now we're matching personalities, we're matching present personalities with future personalities. I think that I may be looking at the situationship entirely wrong. What if it's Unique that teaches Jukebox his ways? If you look at that picture that we had, that they took, they was in, it seemed like that room belonged to either, it looked like it was either Kanan or whatever, but who was also there? It was Jukebox, wasn't it? And it was also Unique. They've never had any interactions at all, period. So why all of a sudden are they having some kind of interactions? I think the person who ends up teaching everything, especially when you look at this whole soldier situationship and how Jukebox literally becomes a soldier, that their lives are going to start to parallel and they're going to start to cross each other. They have no idea who each other is right now. But the fact that we saw that picture and the fact that those two characters were together, why? I think he ends up using Jukebox and Jukebox ends up using him as a term of like, let's understand and, teach each other the business. I don't know whether or not he's still in hiding because she doesn't know who a Unique is. She doesn't have that connection right now. I mean, she does with this. No, she does know who Unique is. But the point that I'm making is this: is that their paths, drug line wise, they never connected. She had nothing to do with the drugs. She was always just straight and narrow, and she had her issues with love and relationships. But this whole thing with Unique, she was never truly involved in. But now it's going to end up being that way. She knows that Raquel was pregnant by him, right? That's all she really knows in terms of that. She doesn't know really about the business so she wasn't like a big sit down and, hey, Unique every single day. And, that's my mentor. But later on, I feel that she does. And you can also make the argument that this is why he doesn't kill her. Maybe it's because she tells him that, hey, she was pregnant with your child. And that's maybe this is how Raquel ends up being saved. Because right now he's on his warpath to take down everyone associated with Raquel. So unless he somehow takes her into his arms and like, hey, let's be friends in order a way for me to kill you to get to Raquel, I think they start working together. I think that that may initially be the plan, but then they just start, they end up working together. And this is how we get Jukebox as an adult. So cold-blooded, so methodical. Remember when we first introduced her, she takes out the kids and the store owner. Where did that come from? Unique now would do that. I definitely see him doing that. Well, hesitant of it. The whole thing. Soldiers are made. Or soldiers were born. Others are made. He's born this way. And so that's just one of my arguments there. And another thing, just like a side note, I don't feel that this series has to connect every single thing to the original source. In terms of we don't have to ever see whatchamaface's child. We don't ever have to know about pregnancy. Maybe no one gets pregnant in the series at all. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with certain things not connected. But I'm more focused on how do we get personalities from where they begin to where they're at now. And I think for me, that's more important than, hey, here's a kid. Because we know what happens. He raised the kid, he ended up killing the kid. He really doesn't have a connection to the kid. So I think if you was to put a kid in his life right now, in his life right now, with the way his mother is, she would force him to have that relationship. So that's just why I'm okay with never seeing Sean at all.
I just want to make one comment. Those are good points by Dana. I'm going to wait to see what questions you ask, Gary, about other stuff. But let me just make a quick comment. I do want to give a shout out to one of your other favorite characters in this episode, Agent Garcia, a.k.a. another version of Burke. So I look forward to seeing that guy get taken out because he will get taken out at some point because, he put his hands on Kanan in this episode, trying to crack down and find out information about Howard. So I want to see where they're going with that. But no, that's all I was going to say.
Yeah, I could see that happening. And like, who's the best person to kill a cop right now? The person that everyone thinks is dead. So maybe Unique ends up killing him or something. Like, because that would make sense. But yeah,
And this is
like
how we also get rid of pops and snaps, because remember, they was kind of little stinky stink to Joey as well. So what better way to assassinate somebody by not knowing that you did it, that you're dead? So I could see it. What if he does it? We've never seen mom and snaps and pops and all of them in their home. We've always seen them outside. Give me home and then give me him killing them. That would work. And then therefore, I did you a favor, Kanan. Now you have to come work for me, Kanan. And this is how we get everybody in the apartment.
yeah, yeah, because yeah, I'm expecting Unique to go on a rampage right now because like everyone thinks he's dead. Like he's really in a power position right now. He could do anything essentially. Um, and we know that he is going to pull up to Kanan's apartment because we've seen those pictures. So yeah, like we know that that's coming. And the biggest way to get to Raquel is to get her son. So if you get Kanan on your side or whatever, then yeah, that's the biggest way to get to Raquel. So I could see, something like that happening.
So and shout out to Early, because technically none of this would happen if it wasn't for Early. So like even these tiny small characters, they play a much larger role, because Early was the one who's like, nah, use this as your cover. Because remember before he was like, I'm telling the world, no, do everything in silence. So shout out to Chris Red, who plays and he plays it so well, because that is not Chris Red's character.
Yeah, shouts to Chris Red for real. But yeah, so let's get to we were talking about Jukebox. So one of the discussions I did want to get into is so you both kind of mentioned it with Kanan's narrations. He talks about soldiers and killers, the whole soldiers are made, killers are born. He talks about that in this episode. The first time he kind of mentions it is when Jukebox is actually training to be a soldier. Like she's at the army camp, doing her training and everything. And it kind of leads me to believe, especially with the teaser trailer that we got, it leads me to believe that we are going to see a more colder side of Jukebox at some point in this season. So yeah, like I we see that she's kind of lost her way a little, after leaving the army, and she did visit her girlfriend, but then she had to leave, and now she's home again, and she's kind of like just drifting, figuring out the next thing. But do you think that she is going to get involved in the street life in this season? And is this going to be like a pathway, well, not a pathway, but like a kind of intermission before she inevitably ends up joining the police force? Like, is she going to have basically just a little period of just being in the streets first, like throughout this season? Is that what you think is going to be Jukebox's story this season? So go ahead, Dana, because I see you got something to say.
I'm percolating and violating in the dancery. No, I don't like the term lost her way, because she never was lost. She was someone who struggled with her sexuality. That part aside, she's always seemed to have fallen into a purpose. Like, for example, the singing. It was like, hey, you should audition. You should do that. And she did, and she was successful at it, and she did the group, and she was supposed to be, fighting to be a star. I don't think she lost her way. Everything that she had was taken away from her. Her first love was taken away from her, literally. Her love for singing and being in the group was taken away from her, but by the FBI and the family and that kind of situation. You can argue that the female police officer, who we thought at first they would have like this, mentor mentee relationship, she was taken away from her. You look at the new girlfriend, she's like, hey, I like you and I love you, but I need to go my own separate way in order to understand myself. And she's not to blame either, because they're so young. You don't. It's okay. They're young, they're in college. You're not supposed to be building families right now. Just figure out who you are, and then who's to say they could come back later on and to be okay. Because we do know that she does end up having plenty of girlfriends. But the point is, I don't think she ever was lost. I think that she had, even with military, I'm going to go to military school. And the way how the policy was back then with the Don't Say Gay bill, that kind of took away her drive. So for me, she was never lost. She just, everything was taken away from her. And so she had to keep changing different avenues. Will she end up being in the streets this season? I see it as yes. I see it as two things. It's a way for her to bond with her father. When her father saw her when she walked through the door, he was so happy. And this is a huge change from when we've seen their relationship in season 1. Remember when he almost beat her half to death because she was gay? This is like, my baby's home. He was so incredibly happy. My baby's here. So I can see them building that father-daughter relationship even more. And her being at home, she doesn't really have a place to go in terms of, I think I'll stay up here and do that little college thing. And the girl was like, yeah, but no, this is my thing. You can apply, but this is mine. So I think that, and who's to say she doesn't go to college? But I just think that at this time period right now, she's just floating in between. And so she can use this as a way to bond with her father. But another thing is this: I don't feel that Marvin is someone who is going to incorporate her directly into this. I just can't see it. And if he does, it kind of breaks my heart because he's tried to keep her away from it for so long. Even though she's aware and she's been observant and she knows exactly what's going on, it just kind of still breaks my heart that he would put her in that situation. Even if she begged, I don't really see him putting that in, purposely putting her into that situation. So for me, I do feel that maybe she ends up reconnecting with Kanan, and that's how we end up doing it, and stuff. But I do see her probably dipping and dabbing in the streets a little bit, just until she finds out what she wants, what is her next move. Because it's a little too late right now to like jump up and start. I'm gonna go to, I don't know, Colombia next month. You have to put in that application, and it's a whole time period in the process. So I do see her like, this is her internship, maybe summer experience of maybe selling something or being a runner. And we'll see. But I'm not too great on the idea, but we already know that it's going to happen. So we just have to wait and see how it happens. But yeah, I do see that she's going to be kind of doing something street involved.
Yeah. Columbia is the one that you took me to, right? The campus. Remember?
I took you to Columbia and Barnard, but Columbia was the big campus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was cool. But yeah, is that like the biggest kind of New York college kind of thing, like in the city kind of thing? Oh, okay.
No, not at all. I don't think so. I think NYU might be. I actually have to Google because Columbia, no. I mean, in terms of like how expansive it is, it does go for different blocks, but it's all separated. But I think
Okay.
NYU might be the biggest one in New York City. I will Google.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, like losing her way probably isn't the best term. I was just kind of finding my words a little bit, but yeah, like she was definitely done dirty by the army camp and stuff. So yeah, she's kind of, she has to kind of drift until she finds the next thing that she wants to do. Um, but yeah, Richard, what's your thoughts on Jukebox and like, what she's going to be doing this season? Do you see her having like a brief stint doing like street stuff with the family before she, ends up in the police or something?
That's a good question. I think she is going to be getting into some street activity. We have to remember that when this show started, she did have a crew she was working with. They were stealing stuff from people. So I'm not saying she's going to probably go down that path because she kind of moved away from that. But I do think, depending on whatever is happening currently, she is going to be involved to some extent. Now, you made the comment earlier, Gary, about saying that she could potentially be working, be a part of what Marvin is doing. I do agree with what Dana said. I would hope that Marvin doesn't get her involved in this, but I guess it all depends on what happens with Marvin in the next episode, because again, there is going to be a debt to be paid because he took out that bookie. And they didn't really, obviously, you didn't see Stefano again in this episode. You just heard that he had a conversation with Marvin over the phone. So I kind of feel like Stefano is going to be a little angry about that the next time we see him. And he's going to say, well, we gotta get someone else to take over and do this stuff. And I feel like Marvin, it is his responsibility to, step in and do that. Now, obviously, it's going to be a complicated situation because Raquel doesn't know all the stuff that Marvin's doing with Stefano. And so obviously she is not going to know any information or get a heads up because Terry Silver's father, rest in peace, AKA his name is Andre. He is not around anymore. So this brother is not going to be of any assistance whatsoever. So we'll have to see what happens. But in terms of what else I do expect what's going to happen with Jukebox, I imagine that maybe she is going to have another relationship, some other person that she comes across with. They made it a big point to say that you guys were asking earlier what was the girl's name. Her name is Leisha, and I forgot the name as well. I had to look it up. But obviously, Leisha also is at a point in her life where she wants to discover and try out different things on her own, in college. And I kind of feel like, her having that heart-to-heart conversation with Jukebox, they did give Jukebox the incentive to also do the same thing. So I can see Jukebox maybe trying to date again. But in terms of the situation with working and doing the street stuff, she's going to get pulled into that again because, again, her family is involved in all of this stuff. No matter how hard they may try to escape that stuff, they still come back to it at some point. It's still there. As long as, Rock is still doing her thing, Marvin's still doing his thing, the family is still going to have some type of involvement in that. And like you said, Dana also mentioned it could be just her going back to do stuff with Kanan as well. So we have to see how they put that all together.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Dana, did you want to chime in again with something?
No, I completely forgot she had that little ragtag group of stealing things. It was so little. It was so cute. Oh, it's a full circle moment because she was like basically the kids that she killed. Oh, no, well, if you put it that way, then yeah. But I just want her to do it sophisticatedly. I don't think that's a word, but just be sophisticated by how you do your criminal activities. Because she's always been a thinker and she's very observant. So what she did running in the streets and stealing little things, don't do that. I think the more I think about it, she's going to be the brains to her father's operation. She could end up collaborating more with Stefano because bless it, Marvin, but he's not a thinker. Really. And we know that. And another thing about Marvin, I want to make a quick observation. What is going on with his anger management training? He completely threw that out the window. I'm very upset. What is going on? Richard?
That is a phenomenal question. Everything was cool until that guy started talking about racist stuff. And then he said, oh, no, you talk about I'm working for the white man. That was it. Game over. And that guy had the line about he calls the shots. You didn't see those shots coming. Yeah, that's ridiculous. So
but that's like wheelchair. Remember the guy? I feel like that's something that would have said months ago, earlier, before he met the guy in the wheelchair and also did the anger management stuff, that would have bothered him. That wouldn't even seem like it would faze him this time. So I'm just concerned as to where did that go? Where did that come from? Why now? I'll ask him that. I will ask the actor who plays that because I'm just confused.
That's a great question. Yeah, you should definitely ask that.
Yeah, It could be like because I know they're supposed to be based on 5%ers, and they don't play that. Like if you try and say like they're they're like taking the white man's side or whatever. Like if you're just a tool of the white man, like they don't really play that stuff. Like because it's like it's kind of almost like a street conscious kind of movement kind of thing. So I know that Raquel and the family is supposed to be kind of 5%ers because I remember in the first season they were kind of using the 5% lingo and all that stuff. Like, so he don't really he doesn't really take to that kind of talk very well. If you're trying to say like, oh, he's you know taking the white man's side over his or whatever and all that. So I think that's why he kind of lost his cool in that moment. But yeah, like it did seem very it did seem like he was too eager to kill him. Like he really did lose his temper and was just like, what? Say what? What are you talking about? Like yeah, like he should have did his whole breathing exercise for a moment. Excuse me. He should have did his woosah kind of thing. Like,
Well,
but there was no time. It happened very quickly. So
I agree, and this is a bit of an answer to that question, but you still should ask the question. We got to also remember all the stuff that Marvin went through last season. His boy who he was in rehab with. They had this whole thing where they also exposed him, and that guy ended up, some really tragic stuff happened with his daughter, and then he also was done as well. And then of course Gerald, and of course the other guy's name, the guy who he was thought he could trust. I forget the guy's name, the black guy that was the crackhead, or to some extent, the guy that was using drugs. I forget his name. I can't think of his name for some reason. But Marvin had to deal with him as well. So he went through a lot of stuff, trusting people, having issues trusting people, because he was still talking about Gerald in this episode when he was in the car ride with Lulu. He brought it up. He still was not over that. So that's why I said, yeah, we need to see. I think all that contributed. The trauma contributed to why he had certain reservations, certain things would probably set him off. But yes, he should definitely be doing some breathing exercises to just clear his mind and not do anything too reckless.
yeah, he's really been through it. He's been through some things, so gotta give him that. But yeah, so the next thing I had was so like another thing that happens in this episode is Raquel goes to see Quan, who is like the distro, I guess, this season, and the Vietnamese dude, and he basically says like the price of the bricks going up, like Marlowe style. He said the price of the bricks going up 20% or whatever it was, and she was shocked, like you better be joking. Um, and yeah, like she obviously wasn't very happy about that. She even went to Stefano and she kind of put it in his ear, like, what if I become the distro? Like, what if I, you know, take over that whole thing? So do you think that that is going to be Raquel's play this season, that she's going to go for the distro spot and basically, try and take that spot? Because I think throughout the first three seasons, there's always kind of been someone else filling that role. Like we had the Dean guy, and you got Snap and Pops now and stuff, and like so, there's always been somebody higher up, like supplying the drugs and stuff. It seems like. So, do you think that now Raquel's play is to become the distro, to run everything? Because we see that the hierarchy is starting to be in place now because Kanan is kind of under her, like, and stuff like that. And so do you think that's her main focus? And how do you think, do you think that Unique might actually sabotage that plan? That's another part of the question. So go ahead, Richard. What's your thoughts on that?
That is a great question. I have to say, yeah, I do think that that is going to be her plan, but I also think that that not only do I think that Unique is going to destroy that plan, but there's also a strong possibility that he is the one that helps Kanan be the one to take that plan and use it as his own. Because the thing is this, we already know, if this episode has taught us one thing, it's that Unique doesn't really care. Anybody that deals with Raquel, he will take out. And I think that at some point, he will be coming after all of the partners that Raquel is working with now, because they had that scene also when Marvin went into the Chinese restaurant and he had the interaction with the nephew that was working there. And again, so all these things happening, but to go to Dana's point, all these things happening. This is why Marvin needs he definitely needs some anger management, lessons again, because he lost his temper a lot in this episode. But no, I do think that yes, Raquel is going to try to have that as her plan. I also think it's interesting how she goes there. She has that conversation with Stefano. At that point, she doesn't know anything about Stefano working with Marvin. And Stefano also doesn't mention to her, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm doing some stuff with Marvin. Very interesting strategy. Okay, so pay attention to all of these things. Very important. But to answer your question, Gary, yes. I do think that Raquel is going to have that as a plan, but I also think, yes, Unique is going to be very strategic and going to try to do everything he can to sabotage that plan by taking out anybody that is working with her right now. He's going to make sure that all goes up in smoke.
Oh yeah, up in smoke, definitely. Dana, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, this has to go all the way back to what the whole theme of today's episode was basically about, the difference between being a soldier and not being a soldier. And killers are made and whatever is born. I feel that this is only the natural progression of her. She is going to become her own boss. Who's to say that she doesn't run the entire thing? She isn't the distributor, I don't know how it goes in terms, but she's everything. And she ends up finding that person who she can get the drugs from. I think it's just, yeah, like I said, it's just a natural way of how things are going to go. And Stefano at the moment, I think he's so just enamored by her. He does like her. He does have this crush that he's not going to stop her. I don't feel. He may continue to give her advice like he was doing before, but he's not going to be with anyone to stop her. The only person that I kind of am weary about is what Unique is going to do. Because even if he was to say, oh, Unique is going to go after all of her associates, that's doing more harm than good to her. I mean, more good than harm to her right now. Because if he takes out Quan, it's because, oh, look, you work with her, I'm going to take him out. It's going to be not good. First of all, the way how you just disrespected her, that's gonna get out, that kind of thing. I was ready for her to, kill him at the end of the episode. But that didn't happen. So that's just kind of what I'm wondering is, I don't know. One, I don't think he's gonna live, but I don't. It just it was the best way forward is just to run every single thing. And then on top of that, we don't know if she dies, if she escapes, if she goes to jail, what happens, period. But that ends up raising the case against her even more. And who's to say that if, they can't revoke that get out of free jail card? The lawyer's dead. We don't know the repercussions of the lawyer being dead, of brokering that deal between the agents and her. So if they can somehow, she ends up becoming the head leader on everything, who's to say that they won't file even bigger charges? They presented her with the idea, but nothing has been signed yet in terms of, hey, I'm going to give you the name of, I don't know, Quan, for example, and you go after him. Or, I'm going to turn in my brother to save my life. We don't know that yet. So who's to say that they can't make a case even bigger against her? And plus, the whole thing of, do we even trust the police at this moment? Because I don't. So you have that, and then we're trying to figure out just how far and she's willing to go to be like the number one top of anything. I think also the bigger question is, will she turn in her brother in order to get that get out of jail free card, and then she can have her enterprise thing, and it'll be out in the clear. But right now, I just don't see it. But for the moment, I definitely see her making that big path of being the main source of the drug situation. And then that could, anger Unique even more. And that, in the end, is how we probably get that showdown. Who's going to be the top one? And again, it doesn't mean anybody has to die because we're getting another season, I think. So we'll see how that huge thing. I think they're leading up to a war between them. Right now, he's just acting in silence. What if we go this entire season and nobody knows except for Kanan because we saw the pictures, Kanan and the people in the house that he's alive. And then who's to say that Kanan won't go against his mother? Something serious could end up happening, and he's like, "Yeah, I need her dead." She killed his father, which is another thing of being angry about. So I know I'm rambling and I'm probably completely off topic, but the answer to your original question is yes, she is going to be the big deal and the dealer going forth.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like it seems like the natural progression for Raquel's character for that to happen. And of course, I guess it could be implied that Kanan would want to be the next, but like I think it's too early for Kanan to really be a distro. Like it's not,
He's
he's
too
not at
stupid
that
right
level
now.
yet. Yeah,
Well,
like
he did stupid things with killing Ronnie, and Mom and Pops is now coming after him, and he's sitting up there going, "Are you gonna help me, Mama?" She's like, "No." So he's still beholden to Mama.
mm, yeah. And then the point you said about maybe she gives up Marvin, I could see that also. So because I remember last season we thought that's what was going to happen. We thought they were going to give up Marvin, to get the heat off of Raquel and everything and the family. But
And then Jukebox takes his
Marvin,
place.
yeah, yeah, that could be it. But yeah, because Marvin is still, because he's supposed to just be chilling right now. He's supposed to be keeping out of trouble, but he's making the wrong move by getting involved with Stefano and running these GTA missions and stuff, these side missions and stuff. So it's his fault essentially. So and Raquel is going to see it that way. Like if they get into some more legal trouble, she's going to see it as this is your fault, Marvin, for you know doing things behind my back. So you've got to take the fall. So I could see that actually happening this season. Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I was going to add that's an outstanding point because on this show so far we've seen Jukebox and Raquel, they've gotten together very nicely, don't have any drama, any issues. So if something was to happen to Marvin, then Raquel played a hand, like I had mentioned earlier. If she decides to do that deal to expose Stefano, and Marvin happens to get caught in the crossfire because he was there, then I could see Jukebox being angry about that, and then her relationship with Raquel will just become fractured as well. So, yeah, we have to wait and see where they're going with all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then yeah, like Dana said, Jukebox would have to fill that role, I guess, if once Raquel takes over. So yeah, that's it's interesting. But yeah, so any final thoughts? That was all the stuff I had on my list, but doesn't mean it's the end of the show. If you guys had anything else you wanted to bring up right now, um, then let me know. One thing I found funny, it's just a small detail, but like when when Lou went to talk to Birilla at the prison, and Birilla walked out and like he smacked that dude's head, and he was like, "Smack the shit out of you!" Like that was I was I was laughing at that part. Like I wondered if that was like improvised or something like that because it was just it was a small but funny detail that kind of made the character like it kind of sold the character before you even hear him talk. So little things like that is like really cool to see. But Dana, go ahead.
I do have a question. I wanted to know, I guys feel that they made a big emphasis on the kind of monologue speech that Andre the lawyer, that's his name because I wrote that down. Andre the lawyer is saying that he won't reveal his connects because that means that he's less valuable that way. Do you feel that we will learn who his connects are? And can they somehow be helpful or even damaging to Raquel? Because he's dead. So I'm wondering about ripple effects of him dying.
Yeah, like that's a great question because like the him mentioning to Raquel that my contacts they want to give you an offer of like if you want to cooperate against Stefano or whatever, like him saying that and then also saying that that people saw you and Marvin leave Stefano's place separately, like that would suggest that there's a case like going on right now, like there's something going on behind the scenes. So he has to have like some FBI kind of contact or something, like. So I do think that we will find out what that is because I don't think they mentioned any of that for no reason at all. So yeah, I think we're going to find out who the contacts are. Go ahead, Richard.
So not only do I think we're going to find out who the contacts are, I also think it's very likely those contacts may suspect that Raquel had a hand in taking out Andre. And that is why, because she told her a lot of sensitive information. You're not supposed to be telling them all this stuff about. So I do want to see where they're going with that. But I agree 1000%, Dana. There's a reason why he had that line about the contacts. My only thing is, I have no idea who they were. I thought it could have been a character that we've already been introduced to that has been on this show. But I don't really know too many characters because a lot of people got killed off the show already. So I don't know. But I am looking forward to finding out some answers about that because that's some very important details.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like they might think that whoever the contacts are, they probably might think that Raquel was involved in Andre's death. And I know there was an organized crime task force in the last one because remember Howard had to kind of throw them off and stuff. So I don't know if maybe it's somebody who was on that team. But another thing also is, the cops believe, like the police chiefs believe that whoever killed Howard was probably the same one who shot him at Baisley, which was Kanan. So there's going to be a lot of investigation going on in this season for sure. So the Thomas family has to be careful with how they move right now. But Dana, do you wanted to follow up with something?
No, I thought it was also really interesting that they drew a comparison between being an artist and a performer. So I think we're also going to get, this we're getting a big storyline with Lulu and his music, but it was interesting they said that there's a difference between a performer and an artist, just like there's a difference between a soldier and a killer. Soldiers are prepared, trained, just like a performer. They're taught that school in the game, but an artist is natural. That talent is God given. It can't be taught. It can't be learned. So I'm wondering if B Rilla is actually going to be kind of Lulu's golden ticket out of this entire thing. Because we talked about natural talent and we talked about, someone who's an artist compared to a performer. So I'm wondering who is the artist and who is the performer in this situation. And I don't strongly believe we're going to see Famous again. So I'm just kind of interested in wondering if with Lulu, is he gonna have to face, as you guys mentioned before, the artist or being a performer and that internal battle because he is an artist, but is B Rilla just a performer? And is that going to cause a lot of conflict going forward? I know we argued about whether the record label was concerned about, let's just make money, and B Roller wasn't making any money. And so I'm kind of concerned about what we end up getting with B Rilla and Lulu. Like, it's great that you can be successful, but is he an artist? And I think that is more of something what Lulu is craving. And if he discovers that he's actually a performer, does Lulu kind of continue to lose faith in music? And then we get a relapse of what we got in the last season. So that's just an interesting kind of thing that I noticed with this episode. So yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, good questions. I am very interested in the record deal story, because like I'm a hip hop connoisseur, especially New York hip hop. There are a lot of very interesting stories from the record industry in New York in the 90s. So like they could really do some great storytelling and show some of the themes that were really like prevalent back then and stuff, because people were really in some bad contracts like back in the 90s. Like even, people like Diddy, he was accused of like giving out bad deals and stuff and trapping artists in contracts and things like that. So a lot of that shady stuff was going on in the 90s. So I really want to see if they kind of shed a light on it. And, like, because there's situations where like people from the streets, like, like people like very much like Lou in the story, like they were running up inside record labels and like slapping people and doing things to kind of, intimidate them and get the deal changed and all that stuff. So they could really have some fun with that story if they want to, so I want to see where they take that. And oh, go ahead. There was something else I wanted to mention as well, but
no, go mention.
Yes. So since we're talking music, is Butter still a thing? Like, or are they kind of disbanded at this moment, or are they on a break? Because I know that Aisha's in college, so I like maybe they're just kind of on a break to kind of focus on their school and stuff like that, I guess. But Butter is still a thing technically, though, right?
I don't think they are a thing. That's a great question. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait to find out. But my assumption is no. Crystal is now in a relationship with Kanan. Leisha's off as Spellman, focused on college and college life. And now Jukebox is back figuring out what her next move is going to be. So I don't think they're still around. But I am very curious to see where they take that, because again, Jukebox still does have a talent to sing, do music. So I will be curious to know if they're going to go down that path again, or is they just going to go in a completely different path. Guess we'll have to wait to find out.
What happened with the manager last season? I can't remember. What happened at the end?
But
I remember they had the performance. Yeah, go ahead.
They had the performance, but I thought that's when everyone was dropped.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because the FBI was like, "Hey," and she was like disgusted. So I don't think she's there anymore. But it doesn't rule out the fact that she could probably go solo.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Lulu is still right there always, and what's to say she doesn't do some oohs and ahs in the background, and that's how she gets discovered, and they want to hear more oohs and ahs. So that could be another thing. And then, she can do two things at once: family business and the other family business. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, so I guess we could get a Jukebox and B-Rilla collaboration or something, maybe.
Yeah. There you go. They can do that, and it could work. So I see it doing something. I was gonna make a Diddy reference and then realize that doesn't work. Maybe a Mary J and Method Man reference. That's more better instead of Diddy. So she's the Mary J to the Method Man of "You're all I need to get by."
Yeah, classic.
And then also there was one other thing that nobody do: the fact that the police, the commissioner, still isn't giving up. He's basically a one-man army of trying to solve the case. So he's still in the background, lingering.
Yeah.
Well,
Chief Batiste.
Yeah.
Well, like I had mentioned earlier, that Gary's favorite character now is Garcia, the annoying officer that is basically the new version of Shannon Burke. So he will get what's coming to him this season. But again, They don't know anything about that guy. Only Kanan knows about that officer. You know, Raquel doesn't know that this guy is doing any of this stuff, and she doesn't have any intel to find it out either. So let's see where they're going with that.
And Kanan keeps getting arrested every 5 seconds for famous situation. So who's to say they won't harass him some more?
Oh yeah, that's coming. That guy warned him. He said, yeah, that guy
Mhm.
told him, you don't want to make an enemy out of me. And then Kanan said, oh, I'm not worried. So that he gave him a warning. So yeah, he's going to definitely keep coming after Kanan.
Yep. So I messed up everything.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where that's going, because things are very tense right now. Like it's like they're definitely being watched, so they can't make any mistakes. And you know, going back to what I said earlier, like let's say there's a scenario where Unique and Kanan do end up working together. Unique is the perfect person to solve that problem. Like if they believe he's dead, you know, he could take out Garcia, but doing that would make the situation worse, because another dead cop, you're just basically putting all the attention on that area now, because now they know there's some conspiracy going on. If 3 officers are dead now, like, so that probably isn't a good idea either. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they, you know, do that investigation, because Chief Batiste, you know, he was saying that this is kind of like off the radar, like this is like it's not an official investigation, it's just, this is a passion project, like, you know, passion project. He wants to figure out what happened to Howard. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Another thing that, you know, we could talk about is so Unique has been watching Panessa, you know, his baby mother. So do you think he's going to actually tell her soon that he's still alive? Because this is going to scare her. Like whenever he reveals himself, it's going to definitely scare her when she sees the scars and everything, and she probably believes he's dead at this point. Well, I think she said he wasn't dead before. Like I don't think she believed it at first. But the fact that he's been missing for so long, she probably is starting to adjust and get used to life without Unique. So, you know, how do you see that going when these 2 characters speak? Go ahead, Dana.
Wasn't she the one that came to Raquel with the gun, and then they had a conversation? She was like, oh, "What you doing? What's going on?" And then they ended up like just talking at the end. So yeah, I do feel that she is going to find out, and I think he's going to just come to her. I don't think she's going to live. I view that she's going to get strangled. Something is going to happen, because remember, he's not thinking clearly. So the fact that he came home to it a completely, what was that? That was an empty, everything is gone, looked like a eviction notice apartment. And she's still around. So he's angry about that. You saw him cry. You saw him hold the teddy bear. You know, there's a kid involved. He is going to strangle her to death. But they're going to reunite before she dies. And she's going to be shocked. So someone like, eh. And then like,
So are you saying, Dana, that over the next 8 episodes of Raise the Kanan, we're going to see Joey Badass, aka Unique, keep doing, because of the head trauma? You're gonna keep doing that?
the scars
I saw that. Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Because he could have approached her in this episode. But I made the comment the last week that I felt like they are definitely going to be scared when they see him again for the first time because of his appearance. I don't know if that's going to cause any issues with the relationship. I just think they will be kind of scared. And I don't really know how Unique is going to respond to that. I imagine that it's not going to be the way it was, and that will push him down a further, deeper, darker path. But I mean, he already is killing people, so I don't know how they're going to, build upon that with that relationship. But I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, you can see it's hurting him a lot though to keep watching her and stuff. So yeah, like that's what's cool. The fact that they're showing how much it hurts him, but like I think he's in a position where he can't just reveal himself right now because he doesn't want to bring bad energy to Vanessa and the child, and so he kind of has to lay low for now. But I do think eventually he is gonna approach her. Go ahead.
One last comment I do want to make, though. You made a great point. Yes, he doesn't want to say anything to bring any bad attention, but I will say this: if somehow Raquel and Marvin, they find out that Unique is around, I definitely see Raquel finding out where Vanessa is and trying to get to her so she can lure him out of hiding to get to basically have some type of confrontation. That can happen because obviously if Unique starts doing a lot of stuff that impacts Raquel, she's going to have to try and figure out a plan to try to get him out of hiding. But again, she doesn't know he's around yet, but they are going to find out at some point. I just want to see how they're going to make it that they find out, oh yeah, Unique is the one that is still around. He's doing all this stuff. So.
Exactly. Yeah, Vanessa is unfortunately, she's a weakness. She's a vulnerability to Unique. So I guess that's why he doesn't want to kind of expose himself right now, because he knows that she can be used against him. So, it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. I didn't have anything else. Any more final thoughts from either of you?
Just another great episode, and with some really great writing and great acting as well. So just look forward to what's going to come in the next episode.
Yeah, I agree. Fantastic episode. Looking forward to episode 3. And I definitely want everybody to leave their comments and let us know what they thought about this episode and some of the questions that the things we spoke about.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're 2 for 2 right now. 2 great episodes already. This is the best show on TV right now. So shouts to stars, Sasha Penn, the whole cast, the whole team, and everything. And we'll be back to recap episode 3 next week. But that is going to be it for this episode. So thanks for listening, everyone, and take care of yourselves. And we'll be back next week. Peace.